Welcome back to another week of Limbus Company, new identity/ego overview, and patch note analysis. This week, we've got Walpurgis Night 4 coming in with 2 3-star IDs in ego, and of course the entire Walpurgis event to go alongside it. There's quite a bit here. Each of these 3 stars has 2 pages of things, since they've got, a unique image for their status effects, because they've got quite a few each. So let's just get straight into it, shall we? Of course, starting off with Lobotomy Ego, Red Eyes, and Penitence, Ryoshu.
이제야 좀 마주볼 만한 눈빛이 되고. 그래, 난 내 놈의 사냥감이 아니다. 이 거미 대가리랑 마음이 맞아서 해골바가지도 휘두르게 된 건 마음에 들지만 쓸데없이 시끄럽게 구는 건 별로다. 한 놈은 툭하면 밥 달라 징징거리고 다른 한 놈은 선인이 정인이 종일 훈수지리도 착각하지 마라. 해파, 거태. 내 놈들 덕분에 내가 강해진 게 아니다. 내가 강하기에 내 놈들을 휘두르는 거지.
Red Eyes and Penitence Ryoshu is unique for us because it's a lobotomy ego that's, 2 egos in one. Well, she's got the actual ego suit for Red Eyes, and she's got the weapon for Red Eyes, but she's also dual-wielding the weapon for Penitence, which of course is a little bit of a reference to the first phase of the Gebura core suppression in LobCorp, where, Gebura is dual-wielding those 2 weapons. This isn't a Gebura idea, of course, not in the slightest. It's just kind of a reference, right? That sort of thing. So she's got a couple unique status effects, Red Eyes and Penitence. These are both unique charge, interestingly enough. They're fixed potency, so their potency is focused on their own stuff. But her passive, Ego Assimilation, whenever she gains charge count, she gains Red Eyes or Penitence instead, and they're unaffected by charge potency. So while they are unique charge, kind of really only a name alone. It's interesting. This is the first unique charge we're getting. I'm kind of surprised by it because it doesn't feel like it'd be something that would be unique charge, but I guess it is, right? So Red Eyes is all about bleed and healing and that sort of thing, right? You can see base coin effects inflict more bleed with Red Eyes, and the amount of additional bleed is increased based on the buff enhancement stage. Both these buffs have 3 stages. Stage 1, Red Eyes, Stage 2, Alert, Stage 3, Devouring, right? And it just gets stronger the more you build up. Once again, I'm going to say this a lot this time, but I mean, it's true for every overview. We really need to know the numbers to understand just how big of a thing it's going to be. My guess is, Alert's going to be, 10 charge, and Devouring's going to be, 20 charge, or maybe, 15, right? Something along those lines. Because that's pretty par for the course for charge IDs. You kind of got to think of her as a charge ID, but in a weird way. I guess because of the fact that she's got 2 unique charges, it's probably more so going to be a 5-10 sort of deal, since whenever she gains charge, it's split between the 2. But Penitence, on the other hand, instead of being bleed infliction, it's about healing SP and gaining Penitence percent of max HP as shield. So it's obviously a little bit more SP, a little bit more passive, that sort of thing, right? It's also got a bunch of buff stages, Penitence into Periphery into Confession, and the amount of SP healed is increased based on the buff enhancement stage. Looking at her passive, Spiderhead Skullface, when hitting an enemy with a coin that gains Red Eyes, do Red Eyes more damage. If the unit's speed is faster than the target's, do even more damage, and if the target has bleed, gain Red Eyes. Penitence, on the other hand, deal Penitence more damage, so that part's the same between the 2. Target's SP is lower than the unit, deal an additional Penitence more damage. And for targets without SP, their SP counts as 0, which means it's going to be guaranteed on Abnos and the like. And at X plus SP, gain Penitence. Whenever hit by an enemy, gain Penitence. So they both got their own things. Red Eyes obviously is the one that's more about damagey type things. Penitence is more about, SP healing and shielding and surviving. It's kind of what you'd expect, right? Red damage, white damage, that sort of bit. But that's the basic buff. That's the basic way that she works. Moving on to her skill 1. Both of you shut up. 2 coin Blunt Envy skill. Gains coin power based on Red Eyes. Gains clash power based on Penitence. First coin, gain Penitence a little bit more on heads. And second coin, gain Red Eyes and inflict some bleed. Skill 2, SF/SH, which is Skullface/ Spiderhead? I think, yeah. Like you said in the passive 4. 3 coin Gloom Blunt skill. If the sum of Red Eyes and Penitence is X or higher, gain coin power. If the target has X plus bleed, gain coin power. First coin, gain Penitence. Second coin, gain Red Eyes and inflict bleed. And third coin, gain Red Eyes based on bleed on target. And at a certain amount of Red Eyes, gain haste next turn. Simple enough stuff. Moving on to her skill 3, and she's got a unique skill 3. If Skullbuster is a blunt lust 3-coiner. If Red Eyes and Penitence are both at X+, activate Serious Skullbuster instead. We'll have to see what the number is. My guess is it'll be like 10 plus of each, something along those lines. Then it would be effectively 20 charge though, so it might be a little lower, it might be like 7, 8, something like that. We'll have to see the numbers. If this unit's... So that'll activate the Serious Skullbuster. If you don't have enough to get the alternate skill 3, it just is normal Skullbuster. Unit speed is faster than the targets, gain coin power, max SP, gain clash power, and coin power. And after attack, if this effect activated, lose SP, which is talking about the alternate one, I'm sure. But yeah, first coin, gain Red Eyes and Penitence, inflict bleed. Second coin, gain Penitence. And third coin, heal self and one ally with lowest HP by Penitence. And heal oneself and ally least SP by Penitence. So the normal skill 3, without the special effects, gain a decent bit of Red Eyes Penitence, set up for the alternate skill 3, right? And just get some decent HP SP healing stuff off the bat, right? We don't know the numbers, but if you can manage to activate the conditional, you instead get Serious Skullbuster, also a 3-coin, also Lust, also Blunt, but it consumes all Red Eyes and Penitence on self, gains coin power based on Red Eyes consumed, gains base power based on Penitence consumed, and lose SP and gain Only Ashes Remain next turn. Only Ashes Remain is her third unique status effect, and this one is actually not a unique charge or anything. Instead, it basically means the turn after you activate the alternate skill 3, you can't have any Red Eyes or Penitence, but whenever you gain Red Eyes, you instead heal yourself and an ally, and whenever you would have gained Penitence, you instead heal SP and an ally heals SP. So just for the means of the turn after you do this, you won't be able to like scale up. You won't be able to prepare for another alternate skill 3 immediately, but you can instead get a bunch of healing and SP stuff going on for your team. Seems like she's going to be a fairly decent unit for, like, well, supporting her team while still doing a lot of damage. First coin inflicts bleed equal to Red Eyes consumed minus X. And then the third coin deals more damage for every Red Eyes and Penitence consumed, heals self and ally based on Penitence, heals additional allies for Lust Resonance, or it says highest Resonance, it's a Lust skill, you'd probably want Lust Resonance, but any Resonance works really, and heals self and ally with least SP by Penitence, with more targets based on highest Resonance, and inflict bind and attack power down next turn. So a lot of stuff on the alternate skill 3, seems like it could seriously do like a lot of damage. Definitely got to see how well it scales on stuff, but it does have a big drawback being the fact that it's not very spammable. You can use it once and you physically won't be able to use it next turn. You could theoretically use multiple in the same turn if you can build up enough Red Eyes or Penitence in a single turn. I'm not sure how viable that's going to be, but it's possible, right? She's got a normal counter, 2-coin Lust Blunt counter. Fun fact, this is the first normal counter we've gotten since Dead Rabbit Merceau. But yeah, it's a normal counter, so it can't do any clashing funnies. I was wondering if they were going to do anything like that, but it makes sense that they're not. It doesn't really fit the rest of the build. First coin, gain Red Eyes, and gain additional Red Eyes at low Red Eyes, and second coin, gain Penitence, gain additional Penitence at low Penitence. Honestly, the counter doesn't seem like it's a bad idea early on in this fight, especially since you gain Penitence when you get hit from the passive, and Penitence gives you some shield stuff. You can definitely afford to use the counter a little bit. It might be a decent tool. And her support passive also seems pretty solid. Eat and Sleep, one out of the lowest HP heals, and one of the least SP heals SP. Seems just like a really nice support passive having like souls, and like it'll probably be like a Lust Res support passive. That's the only issue. It probably won't be owned with a buff that's strong, unless it's like a really small amount of HP and SP. But if it's a decent amount of HP SP, it's probably gonna be a Lust Res passive. We don't know for sure, though. But yeah, that's Lobotomy, Ego, Red Eyes, and Penitence Ryoshu. Seems like a lot of fun, really. She's got a lot to her. Interesting to see an ID dual-wielding Egos so soon. I say so soon. It's not really something we've been too accustomed to other than Gabura, right? But yeah, it just seems like she's going to be a really good all-arounder, right? Well, she's got a fair bit of bleed stuff. She doesn't have any bleed count, because she's got bleed on all of her skills, though it means if you have, like, Wound Declared and Mirror Dungeon, you are set on bleed count. But she just more so just seems like an all-around good damage, good support unit, right? The kind of unit you could really bring into basically any team. So that's pretty nice. Moving on, though, we've got to take a look at the other 3-star, and the one that kind of seems to be getting more focus, but, I mean, it's hard to say for sure. That, of course, being Solemn Lament Yizong.
충동적인 마음은 접어두고 좀 더 사람이 죽으면 어디로 갈까? 과연 고차람직한 마음을 한자리는 죽었던 한자에 대한 축하를, 한자리는 목숨에 묶여 살아갈 자에 대한 엄숙한 애도를. 장르는 이상으로 끝내겠소.
Lobotomy, Ego, Solomon, Yi Song. The other 3-star, and this guy is a sinking guy who's also got a couple unique status effects, and some interesting things here, that's for sure. So let's get into it. So, he's got a unique ammo. That's kind of like the big thing going on for him. The Living and the Departed consume for certain skills. Whether the Living or the Departed will be consumed as randomly selected. Some attacks cancel if this unit runs out of ammo. So basically, what's going on with this is it's going to be a unique ammo with both potency and count. Not potency and count in like the traditional sense. Instead, it's got the Living and the Departed. The Living being the number on the left, the Departed being the number on the right, effectively. It'll be something like 5 Living, 5 Departed, and whenever you use your skills, it spends either Living or Departed to spend the ammo. So you kind of need to maintain both. And there's different ways to maintain both. Also, you can see he has Butterfly, which is his unique sinking thing. It's also got a Living and Departed part to it, so it's just going to be weird like that. When hit, the attacker heals SP based on Living, and when hit, the user's SP is at lower, takes sinking damage based on X, so sinking potency divided by S. So it just kind of bursts a little bit more sinking when hit, based on how much Departed the enemy has. So, basically, how Butterfly works is Living is going to be SP gain, Departed is going to be SP damage dealt, and at turn end gain sinking equal to Living and convert some of the Living into the Departed. Don't know how much. Could be all of it, I don't know. No external effects can raise the amount of Butterfly inflicted. Inflict additional sinking effects, inflict additional sinking instead of additional Butterfly. So if something like Midwinter Nightmare won't make it so you inflict more Butterfly, right? It'll just make you inflict, well, sinking on top of Butterfly. And this effect expires when both the Living and the Departed reach 0. So if one still has anything, then it'll just still remain entirely. So while it is technically potency and count, only technically, you really can't think of it like potency and count. You gotta think of it as Living and Departed. But yeah, so his passive, begin encounters with X of each values of Living and the Departed. Also, its passive name, I see the dying butterfly. It's definitely some sort of Korean, like, pun thing that just doesn't translate at all. Shame I don't know what it is. I mean, if you guys have any idea, leave it in the comments, that sort of thing, right? But otherwise, when consuming the Living and the Departed, select randomly between the Living and the Departed for each of the Living and the Departed value consumed. So whenever you spend ammo, it's random which of the two it spends. When inflicting Butterfly, inflict Living and the Departed value equal to each value of the Living and Departed consumed. Example below. You consumed X Living, inflict X Living. Consumed Y Departed, inflict Y Departed. So it just means whatever ammo type you spend, it'll inflict the respective Butterfly type. If this unit runs out of Living and Departed midway through skill use, cancel all subsequent coins and reload. Reload is his third unique status effect. It's not really a status effect necessarily, it's more so a unique keyword, right? Effect applied to Living and the Departed. Consume some of the Living and the Departed on self, or consume SP based on how much Living and Departed you have on self. Basically, more SP the less Living and Departed you have. And reset both Living and Departed values on self to 0 and gain the max value of their sum based on the probabilities listed in the passive I see the dying butterfly. So, what it's saying here, the final part of the passive, when reloading or when gaining the Living and the Departed, gain them based on this unit's current SP. At high SP, more chance to gain Departed. At low SP, more chance to gain the Living. Each ammo gain calculates the above probabilities separately. So, you kind of want to be like a little bit like a middling SP in order to gain a decent mixture of both, because you really need a good amount of both Living and Departed. It's very confusing how both both Butterfly and the ammo have Living and Departed, but we'll get used to it, right? It's gonna be hard until we get that point. But yeah, moving on to his actual skills. At X plus value of the Living and the Departed, gain Clash Power. If some target singing Butterflies X or higher, gain Coin Power. And if like singing count on Clash win, so you want to clash for this one to get some decent singing stuff going. Since Butterfly is only singing potency, you kind of got to pair it with decent singing count stuff, which we have plenty of. But yeah, you can see every single one of his coins basically is going to consume Living and the Departed. Of course, whenever it says that, it means it's random which of the two. So first coin consumes one of them randomly. Inflict butterfly equal to the living and departed consumed. Second coin does the same thing. Skill 2, Solemn Lament for the living. 2 coin Pierce Gloom skill. Certain amount of living departing, gain clash power. Gain coin power for every X value of the sum of the target singing in both butterfly. Another clash winning inflicts singing count. So he wants to win a lot of clashes in order to get a bunch of sinking going. Can be a little bit awkward, I'm sure, since we already have a few sinking units that do really want to clash win to get some decent sinking. Notably, Butler Otis really needs to clash at all for a singing count to be decent. And also Linton Gregor's mainly for his skill 2. Just for his, he didn't need it though, but it just helps a lot. So might be a little awkward to maintain that. But after attack, gain highest resonance living in the departed. If said resonance was an absolute resonance, gain highest resonance times X living in departed. And if said resonance was an X plus absolute resonance, reload instead. So if you can just get a good resonance going with a skill 2, a good gloom resonance, which you really want on a sinking team anyways, right? Since sinking teams get a fair bit of stuff out of gloom resonance, because stuff like DHE Honglu passive, not really the biggest sinking unit, but he's one of them. But more notably, Butler Otis passive, and also Linton Gregor's passive, right? A lot of gloom resonance stuff on sinking teams, so you can just get some ammo back. Consume ammo, inflict butterfly equal to ammo consumed. Consume ammo, inflict butterfly equal to ammo consumed. Simple enough stuff. Now his skill 3, Goodbye Now, a sorrow in you. 4 coin Sloth Pierce skill. Gain base power for every X value of ammo, or every X value of living in the departed on the target. Gain coin power for every X value of the sum of the target sinking in both butterfly. Clash win inflict singing count once again. We don't know how much. Assumably it's going to be like singing count to like maintain neutral on all of his skills. Maybe a little more on like the skill 1 or skill 2 or something. We don't know for sure. But after attack, reload with this one. But yeah, consume ammo, inflict butterfly, consume ammo, inflict butterfly. Same thing for both the first 2 coins. Now the third coin consumes all of the ammo on self, inflict butterfly equal to ammo consumed, and deal more damage for every value of the ammo consumed by this skill. And the fourth coin is his only coin in his entire like attack kit that, well, doesn't require ammo to function, which is good since, you know, it just spends all your ammo on the coin beforehand. But inflict gloom damage equal to all butterfly values on the target, with all being the sum of both living and departed on the target. So just a bunch more extra damage. Varies much of sinking burst skill. Interestingly enough, it really feels like a skill you want to use early rather than later. We'll have to see exactly how the ammo stuff goes, though, how much of the ammo he'll have to start out with, because if he can, like, get a good skill 3 off immediately, he reloads after attack, so I don't know. He might start out with, like, 2 of each ammo type, so it might not be the best thing, it's hard to say yet. Defensive skill, from the coffin, a butterfly takes flight. It's a block skill. Combat start, reload, gain shield equal to the butterfly on the selected target. So it's nice if you just want to straight up reload. Like if you see a skill 3's coming and you want to reload, make sure you're in a decent spot for ammo, then you can just do it beforehand, right? Since it's combat start, you don't actually need to clash to reload, which is really good. Passive, fire, I shall fire. After attack, if this unit killed the target with its skill, reload, and whenever this unit gains ammo, gain haste next turn. So, you know, if you can just get a bunch of kills, you can just keep on chaining his, like, attacks together, right? You get him to, like, you could do a solo with him, get him to the point where he's only basically got skill 3s and just spam them, and it might work in certain fights, right? Definitely not a good plan, but it can work out. And support passive, Hand of Salvation. When an ally hits with an attack skill, consume singing on the target to inflict them with butterfly. Overall, pretty cool stuff, that's for sure. He's another sinking unit. This is, unfortunately, Yisong's 4th sinking idea when you factor in the fact he's got Base, Spice Boost, DHE, and now Solemn Lament. Of course, Base and DHE aren't really particularly great for sinking, but he's going to need to compete with Solemn Lament. Or not... he does need to compete with Spice Bush, unfortunately. So, if you really want Deluge over this, then you might run Spice Bush anyways, but personally, in my opinion, Deluge... really fun to use, that's for sure. Not necessary by any means. You can do so much sinking damage even without Deluge. And this guy's got a bunch of coins and stuff. His skill 3 seems like really nice for just bursting a bunch of sinking on the target while maintaining sinking count stuff. So he might just be better overall. But we'll have to see. Now, of course, Yisong wasn't the only Solemn Lament we got. He was the only ID, but we also are getting an Ego Solemn Lament for Gregor as a he. This ego is a little bit funny because it is Gregor's second he ego, and it is the exact same sin affinity as the first. Second time there's ever been multiple egos of the same sin affinity in a slot, only being done before by Mersoteth with Envy. But I digress. Also, this means the only Tether he ego that only has one now is Yisong He, so we're gonna have a lot of egos at this point. But yeah, enough of that, kind of getting off track. Solemn Lament Gregor. He also focuses on butterfly type stuff, and he's got a very fun bit going on here. So Solemn Lament, when the skill flips coins, each coin flips against a random enemy among its targets, although the first coin always targets the main target. It's a Gloom Blunt skill, 3 coins by base, so first coin targets the main target, but the other ones are just random enemies. We don't know the attack weight exactly, so it has to be among its targets. So the attack weight is going to be a little bit interesting, because attack weight's just going to determine what counts as being a target, right? So it's only, so it's not exactly a mass attack, which is very interesting. All on-hit effects and all damage dealt by each coin are inflicted only against the random target each coin selected. Yeah, and when inflicting butterfly with skill effects, chance to flip heads %, chance to inflict the departed. The unit do not inflict the departed, inflict the living instead, so basically a heads chance to inflict departed, tails chance to inflict living, depending on whatever his SP is. After attack, heal number of coin 3 hits times X SP. All 3 of his coins inflict random butterfly, but the third coin also loses SP, and as long as you have positive SP, you get to reuse the coin again, up to whoever knows how many attacks. So it's kind of like an interesting hybrid between a mass attack and wing beat, right? It can have a lot of coins. It is technically a mass attack, but it will hit a bunch of random people, potentially. You can control who the first coin hits, but the first coin's obviously the weakest one compared to the rest of them. So this is going to be like a wing beat. It's definitely going to be really bad at clashing. You're going to be on to one side with it, which was kind of the case with Solomon in Ruina, right? Only issue, of course, was if you went up against a strong counter or something, you might get doomed, but you kind of just wanted the one side a lot of times. It's very similar to Ruina in functionality. Now the corrosion skill, single coin, also Gloom Blunt of course, targets randomly. If target has less than 0 SP, will do more damage to further SPs from 0, and against targets with SP, do more damage for every sinking on the target instead. If you get a kill, you heal SP, you inflict both forms of butterfly, you inflict sinking count, target has X minus SP, inflict gloom damage equal to all butterfly values on target, with all being the sum of both living and departed. So just a bunch of sinking stuff, a little bit of both butterfly and some sinking count. Means it's just going to be a lot. I think this is I think other than Rhyme Shank, this is the first sinking count ego I think we've gotten with the corrosion. There might be some random stuff here, I don't know. I'm not sure how useful that's going to be. The corrosion seems a little bit iffy. I mean, which makes sense. It's got its own niche, right? The fact that you can actually heal your SP with it on kill means it could potentially be a net positive SP gain if you can get some kills with it, but there's so many IDs that are going to be competing over killing stuff, since both the other IDs we just got kind of want to kill. Not really Ryoshu too much, actually. I kind of expect her to want kills more than she ended up needing, but I digress. And the passive, Lament, the unit has a negative effect, gain attack power up next turn, so similar to the Lament Abno page from Ruina. And when attacking targets that are either in Panic or in Ego Corrosion, deal more damage. Ego Corrosion only matters for Envy Pekatuilum so far. I mean, unless they were smart enough to make Ego Corrosion be marked for the Corroded Inquisitors. I kind of doubt it, but it would be really cool if it did work like that, but I kind of doubt it. But yeah. Seems like a really fun ego, that's for sure. Very similar to Wing Beat, very much like a chance-based thing, but because you just need to be positive to reuse, you don't need to land heads to get the reuse going. So you just pair this with something like Ring Sung's support passive, and you can really get a lot of mileage out of it without needing to rely on chance too much, right? So that's pretty nice. But that's all for the egos, so now we are going to have to move on to the actual patch note things, right? Starting off with the Walpurgis notes, obviously enough, we're getting it this week, we're getting all the new stuff. A lot of posts about just the same stuff we've already known. As far as I can tell, it's basically the exact same as other Walpurgises. The new Walpurgis IDs you're gonna have a higher chance of getting. You need to pull them, and you can't shard them, but you can shard past stuff. All that sort of thing, right? Announcers you can only get through extraction. You can only get on the certain special extraction, that sort of thing. It's just normal Walpurgis stuff. You can like pause and read through this if you're uncertain, but if you've been here for any of the previous Walpurgises, you get the gist for that stuff. New content mini episode. You need to have cleared 6.5-30, aka the final stage of Murder on the Warp Express. And if you haven't completed that at that point, you can still do the fight and stuff, and you can still view the event, but you really shouldn't, of course, since it's tied to that stuff, assumably. Link content, the new and Violet will be introduced to the game. Similar to the past Walpurgises, there's an easy and the hard. Easy automatically levels all your people to max and brings them up to 3, that sort of thing. And hard uses your own levels, and it was going to be, well, harder. Longer, probably. Event team loadout. You have a fixed announcer, so you're going to be forced to use... I mean, it says fixed announcer Dante there in the image. I'm pretty sure that's not correct because I'm almost certain it's going to be fixed announcer Hod, especially because the first deployed Sinner is going to get the training team captain effect, which will grant them beneficial effects, which means they'll just start out with 2 skill slots instead of 1, and they also get a bunch of random effects. Like in the past, it's been stuff like gain ego resources on like kill or something, right? So it'll be some just random benefits for the person you select first. New and Violet Ordeal requires you to defeat the swarm of Ordeal enemies, suppress the Ordeal, complete various missions, and claim your event rewards. We can see here from that image that there's 3 waves. First wave is 3 Indigo Dawns, which is interesting. Assumably second wave might be more Dawns, and then the third wave might be the Noon, or maybe the second wave is going to be like a Noon and a couple Dawns, and the third wave is going to be multiple Noons. We don't know for sure yet. Missions, of course, are back. You can do certain things to get a bunch of random rewards, that sort of thing, and there's different ones for hard too. But also, most interestingly, Nuna Violet Floor Pack is being added with this event. It's going to be set to spawn in Simulation on Floor 2 and Ritornello on Floor 3, so on normal Floor 2, on hard Floor 3. Interesting that it's like a mid-run one, which makes sense, because it would be kind of weird to see, well, Violet Noon as an end. Doesn't mean future Walpurgis stuff will probably show up in future Mirror Hunters, though, which is really cool. And it does say that Walpurgis Night choice events and EO gifts will be added to the said floor. So we might see, like, my guess is we might see, like, actual, like, Spider Bud. We might see actual Funeral. We might be able to get EO gifts from them, that sort of thing, right? Which would be cool if so. Get their, like, actual LobCorp eco gifts from that. I mean, it's really good. I don't know if there's more to say about that. But yeah, that's all for the actual Walpurgis notes. So now just general patch notes time. Patch is going to be at the normal time, new content, target structuring Don Quixote, Walpurgis Night, yep, that sort of thing. Major changes. They're going to be fixing the LCCB Ryoshu support passive. If you weren't aware, the LCCB Ryoshu support passive makes it so that spending the final bullet gives you a bunch of, gives you a big damage up effectively, to the point where it was kind of bugged with Otis in the sort of way where it was semi-intentional, but basically it made it so Otis's final bullet did a stupid amount of damage, right? Like an insane amount of damage, which was, I'm not fully sure if it was intentional or not, but it just kind of does, it definitely seems unintentional, but they kind of were fine with it at the time, but they're just nerfing it now because it's a little bit too much. Now it's going to work as intended. Instead of being 50% of the total damage from the mass deck, it'll be 50% of the damage done to each target. Still a 50% damage increase on the final bullet, which is huge, but it's not going to be like the stupid, insane increase before. This is a good change. This is a definitely necessary nerf. It definitely felt like an unintentional interaction and really shocked me when it happened. Does mean that that 7th bullet's going to be a little bit more underwhelming now. It kind of is always underwhelming, though, honestly, just because, I mean, it takes so long to build up, and it can be hard to use properly, but I think this is a very good change. Major changes, as certain singing charge EO gifts include unique keywords as well. Since we now have a unique singing, and we now have a unique charge, because we didn't have any of those before, a bunch of EO gifts have been changed to, well, function around unique versions of themselves. And also adjusted the color of SP damage number, so SP damage number is a little bit different colored, so also a nice little change. They're adding some new, packs you can purchase that have, fancy things. They've got, the weird, take-off things that just bring someone to max. Bunch of bug fixes, of course, as you like to see. Seems like mostly cool stuff, that's for sure. And of course, 800 lunacy, so you'll have some, a little bit extra to spend on the Walpurgis, but yeah, this will make up for the actual fixes they're making and that sort of thing. But yeah, that seems pretty cool all in all. I'm looking forward to this a lot. I'll make sure to be streaming the event as soon as it goes live on Wednesday. I'm sure everyone's going to be streaming, so... But yeah, I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. But anyways, that'll be all for this time. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye!